So thank you for being here at the WSS Global Solutions Collaboration Forum. Now, this weekly series is designed to inform the Phoenix World Transformation Platform, supporting us to understand the challenges and explore solutions to the climate crisis in a comprehensive way. World System Solutions develops systems to unite organizations to solve the climate and poly crises. The WSS's mission is to create a conscious collaboration technology infrastructure. And some of the topics that Thomas will bring in today will touch on working consciously with others, an education system that coordinates and empowers existing stakeholders, resources, organizations, and governmental institutions to rapidly solve the climate crisis and avoid the collapse of life on our planet. So according to the UN climate chief, we only have 2 years to do this. And if anyone hasn't been on our website in the last week, there's now a countdown to that. And so we have about 685 days and approximately 12 hours to make massive catalytic changes. So our goal is to help humanity overcome historical divisions. We offer a radically new and non-political culture of leadership paradigm. Just like we were talking earlier, a new leadership paradigm is essential of non-competitive empowerment and sustained global effort through education, resources, technology, solutions, and workshops. So we aim to generate a sustainable future for all children and species. And we intend to help humanity transcend its unreconciled historical culture and gender wounding, separatist positionalities, and social and political polarization in order to transform and generate a sustainable future for all of our children in the world species. In this particular meeting over the last few weeks, we've had recent speakers like Bhagisha Sharma. She talked about research on the university level and the challenges with it, and how the money that they're getting for research doesn't always map to real world problems or get implemented into real world solutions. And Katie Spicer on empowering youth with sustainability education models, and Linda Abije on providing young individuals with skills, mindsets, tools, and confidence they need to reach their full potential. The diversity of all these different speakers it's so incredibly important to hear from all these different perspectives, because the solutions to the many challenges that we face, they're not siloed, they are diverse. And the more that we can connect with all the great good that everyone's doing around the world, the more holistic and grounded long-term solutions that we can provide. So Thomas, welcome today, and I'll introduce you with your bio, and I'll try with all the, there's a lot of, coming from Germany, there's a lot of words that I will try my best with. So Thomas studied IT at the only university that could be studied in Germany. He was one of the only people to finish his studies of AI as in entire Germany around the year 2000. He also added supplementary studies of NLP and wrote his master's thesis about the structure of heavy lexicalist knowledge bases. That is the only part of AI and NLP from that time, and is still relevant in 2024. For memory structures, intermediate deep learning feature structures, and to limit fantasizing of deep learning. And make sure I'm reading this right, I apologize. The scientific topics, except AI and biotech, didn't produce noteworthy ROIs or otherwise relevant results. Also, doing a PhD would have not been a good use of time in terms of ROI, based on limitations to follow certain academic thinking patterns and stay within the AI tribe. Instead, Thomas started an AI semantic search and text watermarking company. In contrast to the many startups of the time, he made it survive even in spite of all the failures of investors, and again proved that all the topics had the highest longevity of all, and pushed the academic and commercial envelope in those fields. Text watermarking, long considered crazy and impossible, has with AI like ChatGPT become a top important technology, and Thomas is in contact with OpenAI about licensing it. He has 8 granted patents in the field of his patents, and are being used or improved by IBM, SAP, Amazon, Intel, Microsoft, Fuji, Xerox, AT&T, Amazon, Adobe, Discord, just to name a few. There's even more. and even Wikipedia. So over the following years, he's been a key AI architect in the most important AI IT projects in Europe, consulting with his company in 10 different countries and making each project a success, while most engagements were firefighting projects in deep trouble, both technically and personally. When he joined, also with his research, grant proposal topics are still relevant, and each would have led to record ROIs for Germany if they had been granted. In 2021, Thomas had the intuition that the increasing world problems, and especially the automation job loss problem, would need immediate attention. So he invented and published his vision of capitalism upgrade, Potentialism, how to allow everyone to reach their maximum potential and how to solve the automation job loss problem, just in time to be usable with the advent of open AI GPT versions, which became much earlier than others would have thought. So let's see. Thomas has a strong scientific and spiritual intuitions and visions about which ideas in the IT literature and which trends will prevail and how they could be pushed forward in terms of practical innovations for the good of humanity. Thomas won 3 business plan prizes, which demonstrate the quality of his ideas. Second prize in entire Germany, promotion contest and $40,000 in prize money. Third prize in German state RLP, and third prize at the Technical University of Kaiserslautern. Those ideas, oh yeah, those ideas would most certainly have had some of the biggest ROI among research and commercial projects around that time if it had been professionally funded, but those topics were considered too outlandish and even crazy at the time. Wow, Thomas, that's very incredible. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for introducing me. And now the one key aspect that you also mentioned, that these were many firefighting projects, like IT projects in difficulty. That was a key reason why I invested more time in how to deal efficiently with these different people. In many projects, people were already screaming at each other when I joined, and I had to find a way how to still rescue these projects efficiently, and how to deal with these different, often difficult personas. So, and that is essentially psychology behind that. And yeah, I would like today to present my insights on this. So I've that I can't present them all. So my ideas that I possibly give an overview, and then while I present, if anybody can say, like, stop or ask a question, and then we go into this topic in detail. Or after my presentation, we can go into the details of different aspects. And actually, most projects that run into difficulty also have a personality side to it. So sometimes it is that the company just didn't hire good enough people, but in most cases, it's personality and psychological factors that contribute to a project not running optimally. Yeah, and that's why the topic I'm presenting today is important, I think. So it's about dealing efficiently with different personality types in projects, and how to avoid and resolve problems, embrace change, and create synergies. So I would start to present this, or does anybody have any questions or wishes with a focus, I should say? Okay, then I'll start with an overview. So this is the title of a presentation as I've just read it, and have roughly these topics. And there was actually an idea for this also was a presentation I saw where somebody talked about problems in marriage. And the projects, the problems in projects are a bit similar sometimes, or relationships. And yeah, that was done in a funny way, basically generalizing projects. So English is a second language that is a bit more difficult to do but maybe an exercise for the future to bring all these gags in there that could be done from this generalization. So the intention is to provide a comprehensive overview of the market and of techniques in this field. So this is me. Thank you for introducing this. So key things I've been working on. So mainly AI projects in Europe. And the science behind what I said is a McKinsey key success factors analysis that says that 7 out of 10 problems in transformation projects are people related, the red ones here. So that means the management established a clear change story for transformation, so that this is not given, or that senior managers fostered sense of urgency for making transformation changes, or people engaged in key roles ensured collaboration between units of transformation initiatives and so on. So this is actually here, I typically have the URLs at the side or at the bottom. And now I would like to briefly touch different ideas that play a role. And one key idea is how to communicate, that we have a factual information that we communicate, that we have a relationship between the speaker and the listeners, a self-revelation part and an appeal part. And that messages can be interpreted under these 4 lenses or even more lenses. So, so it's essentially a factual level, appeal level, relational level, and self-revelation level. So, so when saying the light is green, it like regarding traffic light, it could mean that that the person should walk over the street, or like appeal, get a move on. Relational level, you need my help, or self-revelation, I'm in a hurry and I want you to go with me. And this is typically like this with each message that we send. And there might even be more lenses. However, these are the 4 classical lenses that exist. And one should be aware of this, that this can already lead to misunderstandings, because then the other person might feel pushed or might feel belittled as not itself or him or herself being able to see that the light is green. You need my help. And then another aspect that leads to conflict is that we possibly don't see the pressures that other people are under. For example, here in this image, there's basically a man helping a woman. The man doesn't see that the woman gets bitten by a snake. The woman doesn't see that there's a heavy load on the man. And the moral is learn to think differently, perhaps more clearly, and communicate better, and consider that the other person might be under a heavy pressure of some sort that you can't directly see, and that they don't necessarily want to reveal. Yeah, then there's different levels of communication. There the key elements are patronizing, appreciation, giving autonomy, and contempt. Yeah, that's a key element of what leaders actually do. So they embrace a two-way dialogue typically, create interactions that build self-esteem, create a safe environment, especially psychological safety, as we shall later see, have cooperative conversations, make suggestions skillfully, and so on. And there are different levels of listening. That's also important to know about these and to foster these different levels in a healthy way. There are crucial conversations to have, for example, at the top level, to get unstuck. That's very common in IT, that people are stuck because things are technically very difficult and they don't know how to continue. Then, however, this might block many people, then it might cost a lot of money. So it's typically #1 priority. Then to start with the heart and to have compassion, to have understanding for the difficulty of the others, then to master one's own stories, avoid the downward spiral in a relationship, and state a path that one wants to achieve. For example, in IT, one typically wants to get the development of the software finished, get it deployed, win customers for it, and so on. Optimize KPIs, key performance indicators. Other parts are learning to look, so meaning focusing on the parts that are relevant. So when do things become crucial of silence and violence, to detect them and detect them as a red flag, and to make all of this safe, especially also to make it safe to express fear or factual disagreement, or to voice new ideas and so on. So it should be made safe. So committing to seek mutual purpose, recognizing the purpose behind the strategy, inventing a mutual purpose, or brainstorming new strategies. So then exploring others' paths and moving to action are the key steps of these crucial conversations. And for each topic that I present, there are detailed articles on it, or even books on that. So each element is a key theory or even proven scientific approach. So this approach is called crucial conversations. And these, as a summary, the key steps: start with heart, learn to look, make it safe, state my path, and explore others' paths. Then there's Daniel Goleman's 4-quadrant model, which is about recognition and regulation. So here, for example, self-management, and from there go into relationship management, from self-awareness regarding recognition going to social awareness. And here the columns are self and social, and they are related. And this can lead to synergies by going in these ways, as the arrows show. Then there's different levels of communication. So key verbal communication skills are opening a communication, positive reinforcement, active listening, questioning, reflecting and clarifying, and then closing communication. And even if you don't yet have any of these talents, here are 10 things that don't require any talent at all, namely being on time, a good work ethic, putting effort and putting energy into things, a positive body language, passion, doing some extra work, being prepared, being coachable, and a good attitude. So one can start with that. And then there's 5 deadly sins in teamwork. And then again, there's an entire theory around this. The key sins are mistrust, lack of communication, arrogance, carelessness, and rule violation. And correspondingly, there are 5 keys to a successful team. That is Google research. And there's also science on it here in the link. It's psychological safety that I mentioned before, dependability, like on a personal level, structure and clarity, the meaning of the work, and the impact of the work. And then there's more detailed work. For example, this is work from Germany, 10 keys to a successful team. Maybe I translate the key elements. I didn't find an English slide for this. It's vision, equal rights, communication, the atmosphere, responsibility, discipline, goal-orientedness, conflict resolution, and behavior regarding conflicts, a culture of positive criticism, so allowing criticism and dealing with it objectively and positively, and to have fun at work and motivation. Then there's 9 team roles that are key according to Belbin, which is, and now with this I'm psychological typology. So which types of people are there and how to deal with them. And I have many typologies and in this presentation, and some of them are scientifically validated and some are just proposed and not yet validated or not fully validatable, but still provide some interesting ideas. That's why I included them. And they're often annotated if they are scientifically validated or not. So there's person investigator, team worker, coordinator, plant, monitor, evaluator. Yeah. Yeah, okay, you're welcome, John. So this presentation is freely available on ResearchGate. I can later put the URL into the chat. And yeah, and all this research, except for some innovative, not yet scientifically validated research, is scientifically validated. So with basically books written about it, papers written about it, and so on. So so the plant type, the monitor evaluator type, the specialist type, the shaper type, implementer, and completer finisher type. And then there's also many people don't like to finish things when they get rough. So, however, these are the positive personalities. So if you have, for example, people who don't like to get through rough situations, then you need the finisher type, so to say. This one. So here one needs to go to this website. This is, I think they typically have a test, or maybe I copy it here. They typically have a personality test associated. However, sometimes they only sell it. So let's say in this case, I think one has to pay for the test. When I last looked, some made the test freely available, but we have then and through the definition, of course. So I tend to read the definition and then see where I might fit in best. Yeah, we could try to ask ChatGPT if it knows that. So they have pirated some knowledge to ChatGPT, or maybe somebody wrote a summary. Yeah, maybe it doesn't have it. It depends. You can try. So here is a description of the 9 team roles, and they all have an allowable weakness also. So, for example, the plant personality is creative, imaginative, unorthodox, solve difficult problems. However, their weakness is that personality ignores details, is often too preoccupied to communicate effectively, and so on. And similar to this, everybody has some disadvantage. So there's this is I think originally also from Germany, based on Meredith Belbin. So different psychologists have extended this, and they categorize this into these 3: into knowledge-oriented, into action-oriented, and into communication-oriented. That's how one can group it. Then one can draw conclusions about that, and treat these personalities in similar ways. Then there's so this is already the next topic: 9 thinking behaviors, also called 9 heads or 6 heads methods. It's also related. So thinking with clarity is one way, with accuracy, with precision, and it's typically used as an exercise. So when one hits a problem as a team, so then one asks basically our team member, please take the clarity hat and analyze the problem with clarity, and just make some sentences that express the maximal clarity we have about the problem. And then the next person is asked, please take the accuracy hat or perspective and make as accurate statements as possible. So answering these questions that are shown here, how could we check that, and so on. Then the next person, precision, then relevance, depth, breadth of the logic, fairness, and significance. So is this even significant, or can we ignore the problem or down prioritize it or so, work around it? Yeah, then there's a top IT soft skills that are often lacking in IT projects. So often IT teams are assembled just based on technical skills, and then people lack, for example, communication skills, listening skills, teamwork skills, leadership, mentoring, flexibility, creativity, negotiation, presentation, or determination. And that applies to pretty much all other technical projects. Yeah, then 8 things people decide within seconds of meeting you. So it's also important to optimize for that to make a good impression, so to say. So if you're trustworthy, status, if you might be straight or gay, if you're smart, if you're successful, if you're dominant, if you're maybe promiscuous, if you're adventurous, and so on. Then there's typical despised personalities. So, and the idea is that you should not become one of them, or change yourself to go away from these personality types. So these are the slacker, the loner, the contrarian, the black hole, basically to whom you give information but nothing happens with it, the excessive mailer, the naysayer, the tool, the butt kisser, and the oversharer. Adventurous is, it's also important, for example, for organizing a party or the company trip, or also as a personality trait, it means different things. So they might be sometimes more aggressive in communication, or poke at something and to test people out. That's what adventurous people tendency do. So then there's basically the details, what characterizes them and how to identify them. So this is all a part of the slides that I can share. So then there's even worse personality. So very arrogant people, very aggressive people, narcissists, manipulators, assholes or corrupt people, and others, pain in the neck, stupid or cheeky, brash people, ignorant, lazy people, and fools with a big ego, and possibly more. And so there's this Dunning-Kruger effect that some people, even though they know nothing, they are relatively confident, and then only with more experience they notice that they don't know anything or know little, and then with really more experience they become more competent. However, this is controversial. John, John, you're right. The dissolution of ego identity is the antidote. So this is not fully scientific proven, a bit controversial. And however, some tests confirm it and some don't confirm it. But here you see the perceived ability in blue and the actual test score regarding academic self-estimation. So there's some evidence for it. Then a key idea is that people like to live in their comfort zone. And then at work, when things get rough, they get into their stretch zone. Many still feel okay with it. It's a small challenge, but doable. Positively anticipate it and be exhilarated and challenged and so on. But then comes the panic zone, which is often also the zone required for growth, where they feel stressed, tired, annoyed, anxious, fed up, and so on, exhausted. And that's typically where people grow, but also where conflicts arise. So that's why it's difficult. One typically needs this zone, but it's very dangerous due to possibly arising conflicts, but helps with personality growth. So one also can see it as this way from the comfort zone here to the learning and the growth zone, basically to see this positively. This red zone here is actually divided up here in the yellow and green zone to see it positively, and to see that by dealing with challenges and problems, one gets into the learning zone and then can find a purpose through solving problems. For example, like WSS is solving the climate change problem, and through that we can be in the growth zone, like grow our personalities, technical expertise, and so on. And So that brings me to the growth mindset. So most people seem to have a fixed mindset, especially those who like to stay in the comfort zone. And that extends through all these aspects, like mistakes, like trying to avoid mistakes. But with a growth mindset, you can allow mistakes and try to learn from them, and also allow others to make some small mistakes, and so on. The same with challenges. In a fixed mindset, you avoid challenges. In a growth mindset, you think anything is positive and seek challenges and so on. The same with risks, mindfulness, other people, and so on. Yeah, don't feel jealous and threatened, but instead feel inspired by successes of others, and aim to improve yourself rather than compete with others. So it can also be visualized like this, with some key sentences like, failure is an opportunity to grow, the limit of my abilities, and so on, and other key quotes. Another key technique is active coping to grow. So, so one can feel loss of control. That's a negative position to have and to get away from. And to get away from that feeling of loss of control, one should analyze one's feelings, cope with negativity. So there's basically, for example, blaming, or should not do this, feeling of grandiosity, defiance, dissociation. One should avoid all of these. The first, check oneself if one has some of these negative elements of feelings or negative coping, avoid it, and instead go into active coping. That's the psychologically healthy way to cope, to grow. Yeah, it has different techniques, like from deep breathing to find acceptance and so on, seek solutions. So again, yeah, thank you, John. So this is just an overview. So nearly each slide is an article or a book. So there's a wheel of emotions where you can learn how detailed emotions can be. So so in the middle is the extreme, the highest emotion, for example, rage here, and less rage is annoyance, or here loathing is boredom, and so on. And there are different variants of this that can get very detailed. And knowing these emotions can help to analyze what are my emotions and how can I deal with these emotions and what are the reasons for them, and what is the objective side, what is the subjective side of emotions, and so on, or this variant. And yeah, feelings when your needs are met here on the right side, or feelings when your needs are not met here on the left side, like angry, disgusted, afraid, and so on. So then from the personal side, I come to the dysfunctions of a team. So it starts by the partial or complete loss of trust, then conflict arising. So these are typical stages, not always, but often in this order. So from lack of trust, conflict might avoid, then lack of commitment and accountability might ensue, and then inattention to results or poor results. And these are the strategies for leaders, how to deal with that. And we can get into the details later if you're interested. So to diffuse conflict is very important. So one must know how to deal with criticism. So one way is here, for example, nonviolent communication. So instead of saying it's all your fault, why do you always do this and that, or name calling, try instead focus on the current situation, express your feelings. So one's own feelings about messages, about being affected by a non-optimal situation, and for what you want in a respectful way. And similarly with defensiveness, the defensiveness is a sign of a dysfunction already, or of a problem in the team. And here what to do instead, so meaning just apologizing and so on. And stonewalling, what to do instead, instead of leaving the other person hanging, ask for a timeout and so on. Contempt, instead one should keep your words, tone, and body language respectful, agree, and affirm their viewpoint where possible. Then very influential is the Tuckman phase model, which consists of forming. And the theory is that each team, or most teams, go through these phases of forming, storming, and they become less effective. So storming means some type of conflict. And there's the risk of losing people, or maybe even having layoffs or disgruntlement due to too aggressive storming phases and rising conflicts. And then the norming, for example, in my projects, I tend to put up project norms, technically, and also how we deal with each other, and then the performing. And with the performing phase, only the performance goes up. And especially in IT or technology, there's often cost and time pressure, and a need to quickly build up a team and to have it become highly performing, and that's typically not possible. No, if the team is longer together, they don't necessarily cycle through these. However, they might degrade, and that's this next graphic here. So they might be on the emotional roller coaster, so to say, from anxiety to happiness, but then to guilt, depression, and so on. Again, risk of losing people. And this can be extended, this model, to from performing, also to put a journey to this. So there are papers on this, how to extend it, and to even extend it even more, a functional team here. So these are the 4 phases: storming, norming, performing, high performing. It can become dysfunctional again. So basically conforming, but not agreeing, and then deforming, so to say, and towards disbandment. And a good manager would try to make the team again more functional, forming, and towards performing. Yeah. Yeah, so John, regarding your questions, so I think there's not much information on this out. I think this is latest research and what WSS is also working on regarding the so to operate beyond ego identity. There's I haven't seen much. However, I can recommend some books. So what I've mostly read is relatively standard psychology, and how relative standard psychology then plays out in a team. That's what most books I've seen on. Yeah, and when a new team member starts, it might restart again, or at least for that team member, right? So that new team member might suddenly question the team standards and say you're completely inefficient, or there's a new way out how to do this, and you should your old team, you should completely change also. And then we have a storming phase again. However, that also means the new team member should be gentle about it. And so when I come in, for example, to help with firefighting project, I try to adapt the existing standards of a team and be gentle and adhere to all the psychological advice. And it's similar in an emotional roller coaster with change management. So first, typically people are shocked, then they're in denial of the change, or that is necessary. For example, that one's company division has become unprofitable and that layoffs are necessary. Then people tend to deny, I won't be laid off because my work is so good. And then they might become frustrated that they might actually get laid out or depressed, or about the entire situation that the business unit or the team is unprofitable. And then, to get out of depression, they might experiment with new ideas. For example, we experiment currently with realistic futurism, and then make decisions and then integrating them. And then this related is a cycle of acceptance. So when it's a normal existence receives bad news, so especially very bad news, like a family member died or so, then denies it, is angry, but possibly also with climate change or so. You see many climate change deniers are angry about climate change. also in this case, because they need to spend more money and have less wealth, for example. This can lead to aggression, as we see, lead to depression, can lead to bargaining, maybe do a little bit against climate change, and acceptance also of climate change, and then trying to get over it by working to solve climate change, for example. And this is typical for any major change or shockwave. And now there's major ways how your project can fail. And these are the typical ways how I've seen projects to fail, actually. So and the good part is, by knowing all of them, one can actively work against these types of failures. So the key failures are to make meaningful contact, then to, once one has this contact, have inadequate awareness, poor understanding, or generally towards negative perception. Then if one has awareness and understanding for each other, there might be rejection or positive perception. So these are milestones here on the curve. However, one might fail with each of these. So after positive perception, one still have rejection, for example, or the adoption could fail completely. And then change would be institutionalized, or a new team member is accepted, and so once one gets here to the top. Then there's a team strength model, which is around influencing, executing, strategic thinking, and relationship building. So, for example, the idea around influencing is to not give commands, like as a manager to employees, but to instead activate people as a servant leader, for example. So to go more from a dominant, possibly toxic leader to a servant leadership position of coaching and influencing people, activating them, not so much communication and not so much competition and so on, self-assurance and so on, work on these elements. So then there's a team strength model on all of this, and I think there's also assessments for this. So there's many companies sell these assessments. Maybe bigger, one can read this. So there's in executing, there's achiever, arranger, belief, consistency, and so on. In relationships, adaptability, connectedness, developer, thinking, analytical, context, futuristic, and so on. That one can do. And it can also bring ideas, for example, our realistic futurism is derived from this futuristic thinking. Then one can transform one's business or NGO with talent analytics. So this is basically a dashboard of missed opportunities and what one could work. So, for example, 82% of business leaders don't trust business talent data and so on. So what are the deficiencies and how to resolve these? And the possible business outcomes are 14% increase in analytic impact, for example, of a website, of an online IT company, for example. Then this team maturity model can be detailed into performance elements. So there's unpredictable or difficult to predict elements. So because, say, regarding people, psychology is not yet perfect, so parts are still unpredictable. And one cannot completely control all processes, systems, and so on. Then there's the enlightened stage regarding people and processes, systems. So this is applying latest science. And this, so unpredictable means also one doesn't apply science. One is completely ignorant of what science has to say. And then moving through enlightened to focused, structured, and optimized. Maybe I go into the detail of the last part. Yeah, exactly, Megan, with the dashboard that we should have this. However, it has become more difficult now. The EU has made it illegal to psychologically analyze people with the help of AI. So in the EU, that is illegal, effectively, or only as a as a human using psychoanalytical skills, one can still do this. And also, many people are afraid of this in Europe, also because they know little about it. So here optimized is regarding people, alignment, executive and employee buy-in, accountability, vetting new opportunities, and running process, strategic plan in place, investment of time and resources, and so on. System enterprise-wide supporting of tools and technologies, measurable results, and regarding outcomes, governance is in place, leadership capabilities, operational excellence, improved performance, business impact. So basically having ticked all checkboxes regarding the latest science and insights. Yes, in the EU, they have defined the AI psychological analysis. I think they defined it as personality analysis, but that law has just, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago, been officially accepted by the EU. So that is now in force, and it's officially defined. Then you should know the spirals of emotion, like from a state of boredom towards joy. You can spiral up, people can spiral down towards guilt, insecurity, or powerlessness. Yeah, okay, it came to an end. And maybe a quick overview. It can show why people break down. The idea is to minimize the reasons. For example, taking everything personally. So the crazy ones can change the world. So don't be too strict with slightly crazy people. Even rebels can be helpful for a project because they typically just want to improve the project or the company, the organization. And so the intersection of innovation and disruption is important. So there's the management challenge arises around risk and fear that often nurture discussions and conflicts. And yes, there's also a definition of breakdown. So breakdown means actually psychological crisis. And so regarding this, the psychological crisis, frustration and so on, that's meant with breakdown here. Or why they don't continue as normal as they should. So then for employee engagement, these 10 C's, like connect, clarity, congratulating, contributing, and so on, are important. People have these 4 basic needs for engagement: a sense of trust, sense of worth, need to feel competent, and need to feel hope. For example, for the climate, that we can make a difference. Yes, the psychological crisis should be reconcilable. I think the slide exists to help how to reconcile these breakdowns. And a good manager should actually avoid these breakdowns. However, some people break down and basically develop frustrations or even depressions over these breakdowns, and then might stay in a depression. And that's the risk of a breakdown. And in a company or organization perform less well. And that's why a good manager should actively work against this, or a good leader. So then we have many unconscious biases. And one who has time, I should go into these typical biases. There's typical pitfalls of organizational transformations that I also always see in my projects. And symptoms of organizations at the cusp of change. So they typically have the same kind of problems. We need a seat at the table. Let's build a roadmap. So meaning the seat at the management table, or top management. Then there's different rules for change. The change manager should first observe, optimize for congruence, and so on. One should foster team change and success. Yeah, there's many fears related to why people. And let me first finish this, and then we get to the question phase. However, this fear topic is so big that one would need an entire presentation or actually write a book on these 4 topics related to breakdown. There's so much to say. So managing change requires all of this: vision, skills, incentives, resources, and action plan that results to change. And if anything has a problem here, it leads to problems like these shown here. There's at least 50 reasons not to change. Great innovators have skills. Who changes the world? That typically the crazy ones that see things differently. And to actually have real change, one needs typically personality types, of these 3 types: pioneers that do the core research, but typically this is too outlandish and not accepted by others. And then there's, or still has some expensive. And then come typically, one needs the settlers that get customer feedback, make some compromises, make it more practical, make further inventions. And then come the practical town planners that do industrial research, that are down to earth and basically bring the castle in the sky or the pie in the sky down to reality and do what is affordable, what's efficient. So basically take the best parts of the visionary idea that have matured and implement them practically. And then these, from that feedback group can exist. For example, might not be implemented because they're too expensive. However, then the pioneer, the visionary person might have new ideas how to solve the remaining issues, and that could lead to a virtuous cycle. However, if so, in many startups just have the pioneer, and then without enough funding, that just fails. Just other people say that's too outlandish, too crazy, it's too expensive, we can't do it, or we don't want to do it because it might change some status quo. So yeah, we can discuss it in the tree round. So there's possible this leader, a personal branding working plan one can build on, the life cycle of innovation. So typically ideas get boiled down to just a core. So the idea of an apple in the end, maybe just some apple juice remains, but it's often still being marketed as an entire apple. And how to win friends and influence people. So there's many psychological principles around this. For example, recognize others' efforts and contributions, be grateful, and so on. There's a cognitive bias codex, and in the meanwhile, I think there's around 300. So here you see the individual biases around this. So an extremely large amount of biases that we can have. And then the proven model is the big 5 personality models. They wanted to show this. So for example, then there's techniques how to control neuroticism, that in detail. There's a Gallup-Clifton strength that's also proven to my knowledge. And what I like, but it's not fully proven, is the this model called Enneagram. And it shows there are 9 personalities: so reformer, helper, motivator, artist, thinker, loyalist, generalist, leader, and peacemaker. And each of them has a stressor and a relaxer. So everybody gets stressed by somebody else, by the typical role. And they are in the quadrants of anger, fear, and image. And here you see the details. One also can be divided into head, gut, and heart communications. And this is in German. And here's some details about their strengths and weaknesses, and what are key elements, so key strengths and key elements to work with. So that's that's partially in German. Yeah, it's also called nine styles of soul, and then different work styles based on these personalities. Then there's different patterns around this, and desire and strategy behavior of these types. And then there's details for each type. So we will leave it at that. So, and then there's Myers-Briggs, which is not proven but very popular. And but let's leave it at this. there's also others like the version 2.0, biostructure analysis. The 12 Jungian archetypes are also not fully proven, but by the renowned psychologist Jung. Gene keys, build-up of skis. This is the 4 elements drivers models, and I know the creators of this. So there's the idea what drives your motivation, or what drives a person. What are the core drivers? It's not proven, but has some interesting ideas. And they have 4 personality types: air, water, earth, and fire. It's also interesting. Yeah, there's a game changer index that's more commercial, or Spranger's 6 motives. And then there's for marketing, there is the brand archetypes. So this is how we are being marketed to. So there they have basically focus on legacy value, explore spirituality, provide structure, or pursue connection. So our inner motivations, and we are being manipulated in marketing regarding these personality types. Yeah, so it can also be abused. So let's come to the question round. Yeah, thank you for listening so far. Jessica, yeah, thank you. Did you want to ask something?
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. It's a good exploration. And for some reason, I keep coming back to when you talk about building a culture of constructive criticism. And while a lot of these personality tests focus on the individual, and running teams through these personality tests, or whatever they are very helpful for the people and the teams. And I think I've taken all of them. And every time you join a new organization, they have their own that they like. And different personality tests focus on different things. But I keep coming back to the idea of leadership, which kind of opened our conversation today, and that the person who's creating the culture is, or the people who are creating the culture, are the ones. And I'm not trying to take the responsibility away from individuals' personal growth. They do have to grow personally, but it's the culture that the leaders create. And if they don't create that safe space, and I don't mean that in a foggy way, everything that you've said is research based. And if someone doesn't know how to give constructive feedback, if someone doesn't know the rules of criticize in private, praise in public, give all credit to your team, take all blame for yourself, these kinds of things, or creating environments where it's okay to innovate or to make mistakes, because if you want innovation, people have to be able to throw out the wild ideas without getting laughed at. And so it's really incumbent on the leader to foster that space. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yes, I agree, of course. And that's often not the case, especially if the leader is not trained in this and not aware of this, and that's often the problem. So that people are then instead ostracized, and then don't make creative suggestions anymore. Or what hardly anyone knows, that one needs actually these 3 personalities, these also these town planners, and so on, to actually implement an innovation. So without that knowledge, just basically the creative person is ostracized as being crazy, so then the innovation doesn't get implemented.
Okay, thanks. I gotta go. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks for welcoming me, everyone.
For being here.
Yeah, thanks, bye.
And I think Rohanna, please.
No, I just accidentally pressed the mic button.
Okay. There looks looked like there was maybe something to discuss on about slide 73. Is there anything, John, did you want to bring something in around that?
Just that, and this is just my perspective for what it's worth, that innovation cycle that's described there is an accurate description of the historical dynamic of innovation in the world. And that innovation cycle has been fed and fueled by self-interest, survival focuses, traditional dynamics, tribalism, ego-identified dynamics and processes and decision-making. So we would just suggest that in our view that the entire innovation cycle, as it has traditionally evolved into this moment, cannot solve for the climate crisis. It created it. So we just want to suggest that an evolution of that cycle is necessary in order to create solutions and innovations that are sustainable, are in harmony with the ecosystem, and actually do transform the world into a sustainable mode.
You mean this cycle of pioneers, settlers and
Yes.
town planners?
Yes, generally speaking, the pioneers, they might be out for personal adventure, acclaim, attainment, monetization, or ambitions. Their pioneering fuel is not generally the well-being of the entire planet or future generations. So the pioneering mechanism itself that leads to innovation is or innovation that leads to pioneering processes, we would suggest is fundamentally broken. It's not aligned with a healthy planetary ecosystem set of values and priorities at its foundation. Therefore, it cannot create solutions that align with the planet and future generations of humanity. So what we're getting at is that's a great diagram. We understand its utility and its benefit, and modifying it and refining it so that it changes into a spiral into renewal, reharmonization, and sustainability. We feel could work quite well as long as we reward pioneers for that result and only that result.
Yeah, possibly. So this is all subject to ongoing research. So this is generally science does it. So it could all be refined, or there might be a better model. However, it's better than, say, what 99.9% of people think is that one person should implement the entire innovation. So that is often not possible because that requires too many skills and too many practical abilities that are only for a settler.
Agreed. This the siloed, fragmented, non-collaborative, non-synthetic, non-transdisciplinary approaches of the past tend to yield partial solutions that solve for one problem and create another or more than one, such as all the chemicals that are being produced these days that are harmful to the planet. They're being AI produced a million new materials in a short amount of time a few months back, and how many of them were evaluated for what they would do to the ecosystem? AI is not a problem, and innovation is not a problem. The driving motivations for it, the substrata of non-understanding, the lack of embodied understanding of the environment and of what constitutes sustainability, we would suggest is an issue. So, and by the way, everything that you presented is fantastic information. I have no, I'm not meaning to detract from the quality of it. It's all vitally important, and truly appreciate it. And we're simply suggesting that the current research may not be adequately optimally focused in its intent. It's certainly analyzing and learning a lot about a lot of things. It may not be aligned or focused in its intent to produce a life process that works on the planet. And that's an issue with research itself, scientific or otherwise, that its goal is not always the well-being of the collective. So, and that's we love the presentation that you've given, which it's truly wonderful and very helpful. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, this I did this the first version of this in 2018, and it's one of the constituting pillars of potentialism. So the idea is to optimize one's interacts with other people, and then to also optimize society towards potentialism. So potentialism addresses all of this. However, not in all domains perfect solutions are known, but the best known solutions or techniques should be applied as part of potentialism to answer the question. And it's also, all of this is ongoing, subject to continuous research.
Thank you so much, Thomas. You know how sometimes things just come in the presentation comes at a time where it's just perfect and there's little nuances that you pull from it that really apply to your life. And there were quite a few things throughout your whole presentation that I was able to map to team dynamics that, are already occurring in my life, or relationship dynamics. And so I found it really helpful to have this conversation today. What is that?
And I can also recommend this book. Oh, I must turn off the background. But it's true, the other book. So I can recommend these books. Oh, it doesn't work with the background. Or then I switch it off. So there's 2 books I would recommend. And I could continue with further slides if you would like to. Or we leave it at this.
I think Julie has one other question in the chat. And then if anyone else has questions.
So I can recommend this. So Psychology of Behavior at Work. It's a relatively thick book. That's excellent. And also this Radical Collaboration, also in short, FIRO, Fundamental Interpersonal Relations Orientation. It's also extremely good, that book.
Very cool.
I can recommend.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you so much. Are there other questions, or Julie, would you like to speak yours in?
I was just wondering, potentialism, we've spoken a little bit about this in the past. Is the goal of potentialism reharmonization with the planet? Or are its goals more social?
It's that it's also governmental performance. I'm having problems with the spelling. So I put in the chat. I hope I got it right. So it's about harmonization with the planet, but it's generally about optimizing everything, about basically bottom up and top down. So each person should optimize themselves. So regarding psychology, regarding performance, and also call it PerConFlow for perseverance, conscientiousness, and flow state, which are the 3 properties that on average lead to biggest success in life. And it works better than Duckworth's grid with a T, which is defined as perseverance and passion following long-term goals. So one can only use one's passion when one is basically rich, has enough money. As normal people who are not millionaires, they need conscientiousness instead of passion. And that is scientifically proven. And that's why I named it, basically, it's grid 2.0, so to say, for normal people. And also, governmental-wise, I would like to see governments making scientific decisions. So really analyzing what are the best strategies to improve the well-being for our people. And not just for already the rich entrepreneurs, but for the entire people, and derive scientific strategies and implement them. and find trade-offs between maybe different sub-strategies. Maybe financial strategy and environmental strategy. One needs to find compromises and let people pretty much vote on which compromise to take, on which trade-off, but be completely scientific. And then if it's fully scientific and open, then one cannot easily hide corruption in it. So that's the other focus is on fighting corruption and therefore making far more funds available to, for example, solve climate change and the other issues that we have on this planet. Yeah, that's what about. And the idea is, of course, when the governmental employees and decision makers, when they are all behaving nearly optimally, or at least trying to behave optimally, then the entire governmental apparatus and decision making can be optimized. And far less money would be wasted, goals would be achieved far more efficiently. And so I think that is a key problem, or the top problem probably right now that I see, at least in Europe, is that the governments in the EU, for example, is not efficient enough to corrupt, and therefore wasting too much money and it's not efficiently achieving its goals. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I can present more slides if you want.
We're almost. I think we're good on time here.
Okay.
Just based on the information we've gotten so far. Is there anything else that anyone would like to comment on? Comment in the chat. What would happen if we prioritize reharmonization above efficiency?
Yeah, then you might have an inefficient reharmonization. That's my point. And then too much.
Is harmonization an expression of efficiency? Or is it something more than efficiency?
Yeah.
Are there literal inefficiencies from our vantage point as human beings in the ecosystem that generate a viable ecosystem that what we would call, if we tried to prescribe efficiency onto ecosystem dynamics as a prerequisite, does that in effect inhibit us from reharmonizing?
No, but so it depends on the definition, I would say. But for me, so far, reharmonization is not much about efficiency, except if you put it into the definition of reharmonization.
You're saying it's not so much about efficiency?
Efficiency, yes. Or in your definition, does reharmonization have to do with efficiency?
There would always be some measurable efficiency from various vantage points, and that said, it would not be a prerequisite to achieving reharmonization.
Okay.
This reminds me a bit of just being in our personal, like a household. And if a household could be like a micro relationships and process in the world, like if my husband is, say, as an example, focused on things being efficient in a certain way, it may take away from just like the relationship with everyone in it and the balance that would occur. And so I think there's like a lot of pieces that go to that harmonization and being in harmony, nature and each other, and still looking at the areas that we're being inefficient and how that also may be causing disharmony in certain ways too. Well, this is an interesting conversation. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, Carrie defines that harmonization is resilient optimization. Or John writes, balancing harmony with efficiency may be helpful. Yeah, exactly. It's probably about the definition and the implementation harmonization, reharmonization, and how to implement it.
What a fun dance. Well, that's great. Any other thoughts, feedback, questions, pontifications? Cheryl?
No, just wanting to say hi to Thomas. It's nice to see you, and I'm so glad you were presenting today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Just see your Cheryl and everybody else also. So actually, one can actually optimize this presentation to basically take an example from, say, relationship life and transfer it to corporate life or NGO life, and vice versa, and then make it very funny. However, that requires really high speaking skills, but could be basically an exercise or future challenge, and that could become a viral video, a funny video, if very professionally done in this way. So I initially saw this type of speech where basically a speaking trainer did this with these topics. So always starting with a personal life or marriage life problem, transferring it to the organizational life and making some jokes about it, or vice versa. And that was very entertaining, but with high speaking skills to really do it professionally. But it could make successful social media content.
Wonderful, thank you. Just so everyone does know that the Empower Ed program is ready for registration. I'll put I'll put the link in the chat, and then also that we have a new donate landing page, which is really cool. And so in our general links today, there's some updates here. Their YouTube channel, and Thomas, we're so grateful for you and your sharing today and the great detail that you went into, and this was a great conversation. So thanks for being here today and sharing with us, especially on such short notice. We're really grateful.
You're welcome, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas. Good to see you.
Thomas.
Yeah, thanks.
Thomas, nice to see you.
Thank you. Nice
Thanks,
to
Thomas.
Okay.
Mm.
Good weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.